Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Good evening everybody, Militia Man and Crew. Just want to say happy Monday, getting close to that new year, and it's coming in hours, you guys, so I hope everybody's had a good year this year so far, and we'll celebrate in a couple days. So we'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, I want to talk about a few things. We talked about, remember yesterday, whenever the day before, we talked about issuance and currency, bonds, treasuries, all that stuff. They talked about metals, the central bank did. They talked about instructions. They talked about that stuff. I'm not going to get into it again, but I just want to remind you that that is powerful. So this particular article, I overlooked it, didn't have the opportunity to get to it. Dear Samson, Super Samson, reminded me of it last night, and I thought, you know what, it's still a very powerful component of what's happening. And so there's an article called Commemorative Coin and Special Monument for Baghdad, the Arab Tourism Capital for the Year of 2025. And so commemorative coins are meant for a purpose, and they are about the civilization, effectively, of Iraq. And they're about many things. They're about history, and coins have a lot of artwork involved in those, and they have a lot of things that are on coins to commemorate those items, whether it be a monument, whether it be a agricultural scene, or rivers, whatever, right? So we all know about that. Okay, the Director General of the Department of Tourist Groups at the Ministry of the Culture, this gentleman by the name of Asadi, he said in a statement that a special monument will be built for historical Baghdad on the occasion, and one of the squares in the center will be the capital will be chosen to be remembered for future generations. And that's the whole idea of it. A special visa will be also granted to tourists, on which in Baghdad, being the capital of the Arab tourism, will be written in commemorative Iraqi currency, and a special stamp will be printed for that occasion. So they're making a big deal out of it. They started this back on the 10th of this month in Baghdad, and because of why? Because it was chosen to be the Arab tourism capital for the year of 2025. This gentleman here, he's Samia Galab. It says, we are in constant contact with the committee formed by the Prime Minister's Office for special preparations for the occasion. And we are trying to find solutions to show Baghdad in its true position, which we boast is the capital of Iraq, the first civilization on earth. So obviously what they're doing is going to be very powerful. A commemorative coin is going to be a representation of that. It's going to be a symbol. For history, and that's big because, interesting, look, Iraq doesn't have coins today, right? They haven't had them for 20-something years, 23 years, and so now that all of a sudden they have a commemorative coin, and they talk about currency, they talk about a special stamp, and so it's a special occasion. That's what we are expecting, is a special occasion. So, look. They're being honored for this, and they're doing it now. And they brought this article out today, or no, sorry, yesterday, and it's important. And you see the sequence of events that have happened, you tie that in, and you go, wow. So they're talking about a commemorative coin for ancient civilization, and they haven't been around for 20-something years, so this one should be a special one. And they're going to have currency, and they're going to have a stamp to go with it. They're going to use that stamp for, I guess, for visas. So tourists that come in, they're going to have a part of history. And it's probably really pretty powerful, because millions of people coming in to Iraq for that religious tourism, etc., and artifacts and everything. So anyway, I'll get off of that. It says Iraq is on the list of countries that are the most attractive to investments. So it says within 2 years, thanks to government measures, al-Sadani, of course, Iraq achieved a foreign investment inflow of more than $62 billion, placing it on the list of countries that are the most attractive for investments. That's going to resonate because everybody has been thinking, not everybody, but a lot of people have been thinking that, how is Iraq building all this build out and all this reconstruction effort at 1310? How could they afford it? Well, they couldn't. But what did they do? They got $62 billion from outside investors to come in and to help them get to where they are. It says here that experts believe that the security and political stability of the country is experiencing what it's experienced too was a very important factor in achieving this boom that you see, pointing out the growth in investments came as the result of the country avoiding economic recession and financial problems, while they stressed the need to invest this attractive feature in selecting only giant and solid companies to work inside of Iraq. So they went to the biggest and the best to be able to facilitate what they're going to do. Interestingly enough, I'm not going to get into all the articles because there's tonight. There's some really long ones. Muhammad Adawi, he says, investments can prepare the country and prepare it to enter the important strategic project known as the Development Road, which contains ambitious plans that serve the country's interests, in addition to the fact that they constitute regional and global economic integration. Integration into the global, regional, and global economic system. That's pretty big, you guys, especially after the gradual disappearance of tensions in the region. So the security and stability has gotten so much better. The tensions have tapered off, and timing is what they're dealing with. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani recently confirmed that the comprehensive reforms were the reason for attracting foreign investments. So his accomplishments, his achievements that we've been seeing are, he's the reason for attracting investments that were initiated, exceeded $62 billion in 2 years in the oil, gas, housing, industry, agriculture, and hotel sectors, and indicators from international organizations and institutions indicated increasing growth rate during this period. So they've been expanding as they've been using other people's money effectively to be able to do that. But investors don't come in to do a freebie. They come in to make money. It says this gentleman by the name of Suhad al-Shamari, who is interested in economic affairs, pointed out that Iraq has recently sought to activate and revitalize the economic sectors and develop short, medium, and long-term plans to enhance the investments in all of aspects of Iraq. What are they doing? They're reviving the private sector. And they're saying that, they're reviving it by what? Especially sectors such as renewable energy and oil and associated gas. Remember, the gas has been wasted forever. I'd call it forever, but for the last few decades, that they just burning it off. It's a waste. But now they're not going to do that anymore. They haven't been for quite some time. Now that al-Sudani's here, so that investment, people see where that is going. It's oil, gas, renewable energy, etc. So the regional and global integration has begun to take shape. That's how I see it. It's pretty big, you guys. This is all like in real time, and we're watching it. We've been talking about it for a long time, and now we're seeing the fruits of their labor, and they're offering us to the world that they're going to showcase. They're going to showcase a commemorative coin, currency, stamps. Why? Prior to what? Are they changing currencies? Are they tell you about the replacement and the exchange of currency? Did they talk about metals? If they don't have metals, why would you be talking about that? Because there's going to be something that's happening to require a country to use them. They need to raise the value of their currency, and I think it's obvious to everybody. It should be, by now at least. Okay, so this article is called With the Document, an exceptional measure to save dollars during the New Year's holiday. It says the Central Bank of Iraq decided today, on Monday, to accept bank requests to provide dollars to travelers during the New Year's holiday. It says here, in order to provide cash liquidity in U.S. dollars for travelers on the New Year's holiday on January 1st and the banking holiday on January 2nd. There will be requests from banks and exchange companies that will be accepted from the cash sales window. They go on to say, the expert says the sale will be on the 30th and the 31st of December exclusively. Remember that they said about the imminent cessation of the dollar auctions, right? So the sale will be on the 30th and 31st. That's tomorrow, exclusively, and so forth. So ultimately, what are we seeing? They just told you that the last day of their auctions, in the manner that they've done before in the past, is going to have that imminent suspension. I think that's the best word that they used. Okay. The next article is, with the beginning of the new year, the U.S. dollar enters a new phase in Iraq. It says, financial banking experts consider the suspension of the dollar selling platform from the Central Bank of Iraq, like I just mentioned, is a bold step. Bold, big, however you want to word it. And it has multiple economic and regulatory dimensions, but on the other hand, the suspension of the platform may open the door to new challenges. So there's a lot to this article, but some of the key points I'll just try to touch on is the job of the central bank is to maintain the cash reserve and the unified exchange rate. So it's not the job to sell the dollar, but rather it's the job of the banks. That's been the whole process. The central bank is going to change their position, and central banks and correspondent banks will be doing their job. And they're saying that that suspension is imminent, and it's happening before our eyes. Okay. So he says, but because of the economic situation and the legal chaos, the central bank has taken control of selling the currency. So they had a reason for what they were doing, but they've accomplished what they needed to do, and they're not going to do that anymore. So it says the House of Representatives is currently in legislative recess, so they're on break. And after the resumption of the House's work, the governor of the central bank will be hosted in this regard, and work will be done to impose strict control over currency exchange and purchase entities. So obviously, all the work that is going to do, when it changes, they're still going to work to have strict control over the currency exchange and or replacement and purchases, all of those things. Okay. It goes on and says, he adds that these stages have been shortened, so they've quickened it, and now the new process has become much easier, as the bank sends the transfers directly to the intermediary bank without going through the central bank, like I mentioned, and the U.S. Federal Reserve. So they're not doing that anymore, while the auditing company remains. So there's an article about extending the contracts for some of those international auditing firms. But it goes, thus, the bank that raises the transfer is the decision maker and responsible for the Central Bank of Iraq and before the entire global financial sector. So what they're doing is that they're putting people on the table. These banks, they're going to have to play by the rules, international standards and practices, and they're going to be on the hook for it. And it's going to be before the entire global financial sector. If that doesn't sound like Iraq's going international, I don't know what is. Okay, it's a massive step. And it goes on. This article is like 7 pages long, and I'm not going to get into every page. Absolutely not. You can find it in patreon.com/MM&C and our Discord Militia Man's chat room. So when you guys come in, if you're new, that's where you'll look for it. Okay. Membership, you'll find a tab in there. When you become a full member, you can tab onto that. It's free. Come on in, enjoy. It's our membership's $9.99 a month. It's relatively expensive, but we bring a lot of value. So you take it into consideration. Try it for 30 days if you want. Okay, the possible reasons for stopping the platform, according to al-Mashan, which is the central bank governor, Moshan Alak, he goes, are an attempt to control the parallel market, as the central bank wants to reduce the difference between the official and market exchange rates by reducing the supply of the dollars in the marketplace. Moshan adds that it also represents a step to reduce corruption and tax evasion, and the Central Bank of Iraq is trying to protect foreign reserves from depletion. So if you think about it for you guys, electronic platform, think about blockchain, think about transparency. It's a new electronic system. It's going to have the same capacity as everybody else around the world. This isn't Iraq singularly trading on her ISX at 1310. They're not talking about that. They're talking about going into a global financial system. So there's another page where it says the platform termination statement. It says, according to the statement of the central bank on September 4th, 2024, yeah, they mentioned it, I guess then. The electronic platform foreign transfers began back in 2023 as a first phase to reorganize financial transfers in a way that ensures proactive oversight, then instead subsequent oversight from the Federal Reserve, auditing daily, so etc. So they're just giving you a little history. It says the gradual shift was planned towards building direct relationships between banks in Iraq and foreign correspondent and approved banks mediated by who? The international auditing firms, to conduct preliminary audits of the transfers before they are executed by the correspondent banks. So they're going to be audited before both sides of the equation are allowed to go through. Again, think blockchain, think transparency, new electronic systems. Okay. It goes on, we already knew about this, but the 95%, technically they said they've got 97% of transfers from the electronic platform to the correspondent bank's mechanism directly between it. Okay, they've beat that, but that's been taken care of. It says only a few percent remain with the platform, which will be transferred using the same mechanism before the end of this year. Well, tomorrow's before the end of this year. That's what they're telling us. And what is it? It's according to their plan. The Central Bank of Iraq indicated that there was some expectations about possible effects on the exchange rate and transfer operations are baseless because the process will not be sudden or one payment at the end of this year, but rather it was already achieved in the past period with effort and careful follow-up, except for the remaining small percentage we mentioned that will be accomplished in the coming short period. Well, the coming short period is it's probably going to be, if we go by with what they say, tomorrow is the last day of that happening. And I would imagine that those that are still trying to get money from the black market are going to find themselves in a pinch. They're using other foreign currencies, you guys, Chinese yuan, Indian rupee, UAE dirhams. They're using those to help facilitate all of this. The article at the beginning, actually, it says that there was about 5 banks, but technically it says 13 banks have actually started conducting transfer operations with the prior audit mechanism that has been agreed upon and approved. In addition to transfers in dollars, the provision of channels for personal transfers for legitimate purposes, and tongue-tied there, you guys, sorry about that, and external purchases through electronic payment channels and international money transfer companies and cash sales to travelers, the payment of cash dollars for incoming transfers to those parties and purposes specified in the central bank's published instructions. So they're doing it by the book. It's not 5 banks, but it's 13 banks. And they're going to do it by international standards and practices, and they've already got that in place. So here we go. The bank noted that it has placed foreign transfer operations and fulfilled dollar requests on sound paths that are consistent with international practices and standards and anti-money laundering and terrorist financing law. If you guys remember back what happened in 2018, the FATF requirements were passed. Iraq passed that. They went from the black to the gray, and they're not being monitored anymore. And they haven't for 6 years. Because why? Because they've been doing their job. All that fake news that came out, that's to be thrown in the trash. Just toss it. Okay, the central bank statement concluded that providing the aforementioned channels for all purposes at the official dollar price makes this price the true indicator of economic practices, which is proven by the reality of price stability and control of inflation. It goes on and says, any other price traded outside of these channels is an abnormal price that those with unorthodox or illegal practices resort to, who avoid official channels in their dealings and bear the additional costs alone. So they're telling you, that 3%, if you will, they're going to bear the cost of any losses. That's what's going to happen. So anyway, to me, they're putting the parallel market to rest. That's what's probably going to happen. Would there be some sort of one in the future? Could be, but we're going to find out. And lastly, I want to go over the planning department ministry discusses preparing the third voluntary report on sustainable development in Iraq. And this is big because it's talking about things that are about achievements that have already been accomplished by al-Sudani's teams for the last 2 years. And they're going to have a report that's going to come out from what their achievements are today, tomorrow, the next day. But they're going to prepare this next report to be one that's very powerful in a global sense. And that won't happen until September of next year. And no, we're not waiting until September of next year. They're going to base that full report at a high-level political meeting in September. It's going to be not necessarily for us, you guys. It's going to be for the global entities, the biggest money in the world, probably, because what did they already gather? Some of the largest, most prestigious companies and successful companies in the world to do what? To prepare for the Development Road Project, and they have already told us that they've set the stage for that. So these are really powerful times, everyone. Basically, what is going on in the Ministry of Technical Affairs? He says the meeting came to put out first steps towards preparing the third voluntary report on sustainable development, which Iraq will present during the activities of the United Nations high-level political forum in New York in September of next year, stressing the importance of voluntary reports in general and their third report in particular, as it is a broad illumination of the important steps achieved, so in other words, already achieved in Iraq, in an effort to achieve the goals of sustainable development, the investment file in achieving reconstruction, and ensuring justice in the country. So they've already done a lot of things, everybody, and what we're seeing right now is, if it holds true, is that they're going to have another report to be prepared, and it'll probably be a phenomenal report. Okay, he called for making efforts to prepare this report, which paints a true picture of the development scene in Iraq. So you're not going to hear all the riffraff stuff. You're going to get the real skinny on the whole thing. He says today's consultative session is today. Okay, today's consultative session is a pivotal step in the framework of preparing the voluntary national report for 2025, which will be presented at that high-level political forum. So that's high-level political forum. We're talking global financial system. We're talking about the biggest entities in the world. I would imagine that has to a lot of three-letter agencies around the world are going to probably be at that. All right. It says the woman adds that the preparing of the voluntary national report represents an opportunity to evaluate achievements, highlight the successes achieved, already done, and faces challenges with transparency, explaining that it reflects the high commitment to partnership and collective work between governmental and governmental sectors, and who else? The private sector. Basically, you guys, this voluntary report on sustainable development is about what Iraq has already achieved to date. It will be held next September, as like I said, and basically what is it talking about? I don't know, but to me, I think I do know, we're not waiting for that to happen. We're just not waiting for that to happen, because we're talking about the achievements, what they've completed, and the results of what those are going to be. We're already going to see the results. We've already seen results, but now we're going to see a little bit more. But again, they got 9 more months to keep going. So enjoy your evening. Thank you for being with us. Please hit that like button, subscribe if you liked our content, and of course we have the PayPal, Venmo, and Zelle for those supporting donations. Thank you. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.